Welcome csc121 to our EX21 list review exercises. And one thing I just wanted to point out, I'm under Documents and Resources, Handouts, Documents and Resources. If you scroll down to Unit 6, I also have this under Unit 4 as well, but if you go down to Unit 6, you'll see it again. And if you click on this, you'll see a PDF that has some notes on lists, some things that we can do with lists, some functions, some methods that belong only to the list data type, and some of these we've used before, so we're going to review it a little bit. But if you have this handy, you might want to check this out. And also what I'm going to do back in my Warren is go back to my announcements, because I just put this announcement up here. I'm also going to send an email, but if you go into this announcement, the first one here, there's a link, and this is going to be to Repl.it Classroom. It's a little more organized environment to submit assignments, especially for the instructions, so they don't have to be like a text file like I've done in the past. But all that you should have to do, and I'm going to try to do this as a student, all that you should have to do, whether you do it in your email or do it right here, is just click on this link. And you can log in under your regular Repl.it account. But just remember to go to log in down here, because it's telling you to sign up. So make sure you go down here to log in first. And this is the classroom that you're going to be going into. And this will help you log in or enroll in the classroom. And so I'm going to go to log in, and I'm going to use a different account. So I'm a student. I'll use my Gmail account. And when I log in, it should log me into the classroom. And the classroom that you should see is this one here. I don't have a picture. I could put a picture on here. Maybe I'll do that by the time you see it, instead of just having some kind of salmon color. But if you click on here, you'll see some assignments in here. And these are easy kind of review assignments. I just wanted to have us ease back into it a little bit. And I think they go in the order that I put them in there. So right now they're going by, this is the first one. There's A, B, C, and D of exercise 21. They're all kind of numeric list looping kind of exercises. So I'm going to go into this one here, the first one, and I'll just run through this with you. Now when you click on here, you'll see there's a nice area here to see instructions instead of it has some HTML when I set it up. And I don't put a due date in here, but there is a submit button. So when you're done, you could submit it. And then I could put feedback on it. It's actually a nice kind of setup to use, a little bit nicer than what I was using before. Now there's some instructions here. Now I'll just go through this so you can kind of follow what's going on here. This is the even odd number. So this is pretty easy. It says to start, create an empty list named nums, and then create two more empty lists. There's going to be one called odd and one called even. And remember, empty lists just have the bracket with nothing in them. Now I have spaces here. That's just so they look a little easier, because they look like a box if I type them over here. So I'm going to make a list. So I'm going to start here, and I'll make one called nums, and I'll just put my opening closing bracket. You see how it kind of looks like a box sometimes. And then I'll do one called, right away, I'll do one called odd. And it doesn't matter if you do odd or even first. So there's my three lists, and they're empty. There's nothing in them. So the instructions say, using a for loop, append the numbers 1 through 20 to the nums list. So I'm basically going to create 20 numbers and add them to the nums list. Now we know how to do that already. So we're going to use a for loop. So we could use a range. Remember, if we want a range of numbers, we could use a for loop. So we're going to use for I in range. We'll start off with that, and then our range can be, since we want 20 in there, we could put it 1 over the range, because it doesn't always include the last number of that range. So we could do 1 and 21. That way it'll make sure that it does 1 and 20, because this is never at the high end of the range. And then remember, we put our colon here, and then what we want to do as it goes through that list, starting at 1 and going up to 20, we're going to basically append it. So to append something, remember that's adding it to a list, we want to put the list first. So we're going to append it to nums first, and we're going to use dot because it's a method. The append is a method, so we're going to use nums dot append, and what we're going to append is going to be I. So we're going to be adding I, whatever I is, as it iterates through, and then as it goes through there, we don't want to print out each number. What we're going to do is print out the list when we're done. So I'm going to go back to the margin and just say print, and I'm just going to print out nums. So we'll see what happens. So we'll try this out first. So this should be pretty easy. I don't have to hit save or anything. I don't believe I do. I don't see a save here. I don't. So we could just hit run, and there's our list. and it's 1 through 20, and that's exactly what we want. So we just printed out the list. So we got the first part, that's number 2, that says print out the nums list. And it says then using 2 additional for loops, so we'll just be using the same kind of loop, except this time we're going to be running through the list of nums that we just created. So we're going to do this right after this one, and I'll just put a space here, and I'll say for I in, and now what we could say, instead of a range, we're not using a range of numbers, we're actually going to put the list. So we're going to say for I in nums, and that's all we have to put. So it's going to iterate through that list, which already is this down here. And what we're going to do from that is pull out the, whatever you do first, the even numbers or odd. I figured even might be easier, so you might do that first. And now to do that, you're going to have to make sure that we use a conditional statement, because if they're even, we have to check that they're even. So we're going to say if, now I just realized this, you don't have to have 2 loops. We could probably do it in the one since we have 2 conditionals here. But so maybe I'll change this, or if you do 2 loops, that's fine. But if I do if I, because we're still talking about I, because I is iterating through there. If we say I, and we're going to use the modulus, is that like percent sign. And if we say if it's divisible by 2 and the remainder is 0, that's kind of what that means. If I is divisible by 2 and the remainder is 0, that means it's going to be even. Then what we're going to do is we're going to append to the even list, because this is the even number. So we could say even dot append. We're going to use the same kind of method, and we're going to append I to that. And I was saying we could do 2 for loops, but we should be able to just go back and do else in here. We can actually get away with doing 1. And I'll do else, and that would just be the other numbers. Remember, and I'll show it 2 ways. If you did another for loop, even if you did this, I'll just do this down here. Even if you did this, if you needed to find out odd numbers, and that's the only reason I'm telling you this, if you needed to do odd numbers, you would use the exclamation point in there to say that it's not, it doesn't come out to 0 when it's divisible by 2. So that would mean it's odd. So that would be one way to do it. But what I'm going to do here is just do else, because basically if it's not even, it's got to be odd. So we can just do that. That's actually easier than I had intended. So this is really easy. And what we could do if it's not even, which is basically the same thing as what happens with an else statement, is we could just say odd dot append, and we can put I in there. So hopefully that'll still go through there, and it'll keep looping through the whole thing. We'll see if this works first. Maybe I will need 2 for loops, but I don't think so. And what I'll do here is make sure I go back to the margin, and I'll put an extra space here. And I already am printing nums, and I can move this down a little. I'm already printing nums, so I'm just going to print even, and then I'll just copy this. I'll put it on another line, and this will be odd, and that should be it. So let me run this, and I should have my nums 1 through 20. I should have my even numbers 2 through 20, and my odd numbers 1 through 19. So that works too. So I don't even need to use 2 additional for loops, because I was smart enough to say, oh, if I'm using an if, I might as well just use an else and then get the odds, and I could put them in 1 for loop. So I might even change those instructions, or just put the option that you might want to do it with an if else. So there's the 3 print statements: the print nums, the print even, the print odd, and that's it. So that's pretty easy. That was a pretty easy review of pulling even numbers and odd numbers through there by reviewing the modulus. And when you're done, what you're going to do is you're going to submit it by doing that. And then you're done. And then I'll see it in your list, and I'll see your username, I believe, in the list. Whatever your username is, or whatever you're in there under, I should see that. So, and then I'll grade it from there and put it in there. As long as I can recognize you, I'll see if I have any issue recognizing anybody from that list. But I should already from what I have from you in the past. So that's all you have to do for that exercise. And then I'll do another quick video of the next exercise. But we'll stop there and take a break, and then I'll move on to EX2 in our little list exercises.